Good afternoon and welcome, even to those that are joining us on the recording. My name is Stephanie Lewis. I will serve as your moderator today. It is my pleasure to welcome you to another NICER, National Institute for Congestion Reduction webinar. We have two dynamic speakers today. Our first speaker will be Mario Monzreal. He is with Texas A&M Transportation Institute, and we also have Sechkin Oskul, and he works at the University of South Florida. So it is my pleasure now to hand the presentation over to Mario. So Mario, take it away.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks everyone for attending this webinar. I'm very happy to have the opportunity to share our work with Dr. Sechkin Oskul. First, I would like to acknowledge also the contribution of our colleagues, Bill Prieto, Jose Rivera, Dr. William Eisel from the Texas A&M Transportation Institute. Great contribution they have provided for this work as well. So what we have prepared for you is this agenda. I'll start by describing a little bit of the objective and the alignment within ICR. A little bit of the methodology, then I will hand the microphones to Dr. Sechkin for him to walk us through surveys and interviews. Then I take the stage back to discuss a little bit of data, the model and algorithm that we have developed, the results that we have obtained from that model and algorithm. And then finally, we will talk about conclusions and we will go into the questions afterwards. So, jumping right in through it, the objective was to develop a methodology for cargo consolidation, and the focus was to see how useful and that would be for congestion reduction. This aligns with three NICR pillars. The first one is, again, battling congestion using innovative mobility platforms. The second one is, again, battling congestion, but on the freeway corridors. And the last one is urban and rural traffic management in the age of big data. Evidently, the first two line perfectly with congestion reduction, and the last one related to big data is relevant because we have to deal with lots of data, and you will see that later. I will discuss that in more detail, but we have to resource to several data sources emerging and soon, and so a few data analytics activities on. So the methodology comprises four elements. The first one is the survey and interviews that Dr. Sechkin will discuss. Basically, the objective for those is to gain insights and information on how the cargo consolidation practice is being currently done and regarded in the public sector and private sector. And the second element is the data assessment and data set production, as I mentioned, and we had to resource several data sources. I will discuss that even in more detail later. The third one is models and algorithm development. We developed two mathematical models and one algorithm. We will see those in detail as well. And the fourth one is the design of experiment, which is basically the plan of how we applied or we implemented those models and algorithms in a real case. Now I just lend the stage to Dr. Sechkin. Please, Sechkin.
Thank you, Dr. Monstreal. And hello, everyone. Thank you for attending and watching this webinar. On the surveys and interviews components, we basically performed the separate private and public sector surveys to basically gain insights into what the private and public sector is thinking regarding cargo consolidation. And really the objective of the survey was to understand what the public and private sectors are thinking regarding cargo consolidation practices among again, not only private sector, but also the public sector, and the potential to ease traffic congestion, as well as understanding what is already being done by private and public sectors in this field. We identified the target participants in the private sector companies who are involved in cargo transportation, logistics service providers, freight forwarders, and also other stakeholders who are involved in cargo consolidation as well as optimization efforts. We identified public sector participants who work with freight companies and have an understanding of cargo consolidation, optimization models, and potential benefits as well. Some of the results we obtained from the private sector survey, just to share with you, and these are all in our final report as well, is different organization types, 3PLs, manufacturers, NGOs, other type of private sectors, and also retailers. And about 87% of these companies were within the US, but we have about 7% in Europe and also about 7% in the other portions of the world. So we had an international audience that's responded to our private sector survey. We had about 44% of the companies said that they are using cargo consolidation, and we had about 56% of the companies saying they are not utilizing any cargo consolidation at the moment. We asked them what challenges are faced by each of these companies. We asked them different questions about their preference to use cargo consolidation services. When do they really actually do that? When buying from multiple suppliers, when shipping few products from time to time, and so on and so forth. And we recorded their responses accordingly. And we also asked them within 5 to 10 years, how important will it be to employ cargo consolidation strategies to see what their planning purposes are. And we see some extremely important, very important, moderately important. A lot of companies think that it is going to be somewhat important moving into the 5 to 10 years, which they realize the importance of these cargo consolidation strategies and actually implementing it. In the public side of the survey, the public sector survey, we looked at again different organization types, such as state DOTs and national government, academics, researchers, and so on. The split here was about 78% of our public sector participants were coming from the US. About 11% is coming from Asia, and the other 11% from Europe. We asked them how important is traffic congestion to agency plans. We had an extremely important, very important, moderately important, so again, somewhat important. Then we asked what are some main causes of traffic congestion according to their agency views. Excuse me. We asked them how important is traffic congestion to agency planning, and we're seeing different varying reasons for this. And we asked them what mobility measures they are also using to track congestion, to understand how they are measuring and tracking congestion also. So in the second portion, once we got our survey results and their insights regarding cargo consolidation, so we can actually input some of these insights into the optimization model that Dr. Montreal is going to present. We also held some interviews to dig a little deeper into some of these reasons. We held interviews with 4 entities. They are large distributors and shipping companies, and we were able to observe that the planning of shipments for large distributors and shipping companies involves a really sophisticated and strategic thought process driven by different considerations. The geographic location plays a really crucial role. Excuse me. And large distributors and shipping companies also engage in a comprehensive analysis of the characteristics of the cargo they handle. So that also derives some of the decisions that they make. Can they easily, cargo consolidate, or are there some other reasons behind why they are hesitant? And the choice of transportation modes and the availability of these modes are also very important to the decision of cargo consolidation. We also observed that large distributions and shipping companies increasingly rely on freight optimization tools. Everyone, all of the companies that we interviewed are talking about their optimization tools to make informed decisions that's going to align with economic goals of the company, while also adhering to evolving environmental standards and expectations as well. Some of them are using cargo consolidation as basically their environmental goals to cut down emissions and so on as well. So it was really the conclusion from these interviews that most, if not all of these companies use some sort of optimization models for their freight shipments, for standard shipments, and also for mixed cargo operations as well. So with that, I'm going to turn it over back to Dr. Montreal to discuss the data process. Mario, you are on mute. Just a quick note here.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me know. Sorry about that. So as I was saying, thank you for your presentation on the survey and interviews, Dr. Ashkul. So regarding data, the original idea was to obtain information and data from private sector companies. We tried to do that, but it proved near to impossible. So hence we needed to resource to public available data sources. So we use the manufacturing establishments data and the commodity flow survey and freight analysis framework to develop a master data set that we need. We will see that in the next slide. The objective was to develop a master data set that included location and tonnage, but at a resolution per establishment and commodity. In order to do that, as I mentioned, we resource to these two data sets, the establishment data, where we obtain the number of employees and location, and the commodity FAF data, the commodity tonnage and FAF zones. The main challenge between both of them is that the establishment data is coded in a X code, and the commodity FAF data is in SCTG code. So we needed to first match those two codes in order to match corresponding registries of both data sets. We need to filter for Texas, and we use the overall tonnage of commodity FAF at FAF zone level and cross that with employment percentage coming from establishment data in order to distribute that tonnage per each of the clients in a specific target area. I hope that makes sense. So all that derived in the master data set, and that, as I said, had the location and tonnage per establishment and commodity. Based on this data, we developed a mathematical optimization model for routing, and then the heuristic for routing as well. The reason for doing that is that, as many of you know, I'm sure, this is routing and location and facility location problems is an NP-hard, non-deterministic polynomial time-hard problem, and that cannot be solved optimally in large instances. Hence, we needed to develop this heuristic algorithm to implement this solution on larger instances. Basically, in other words, we use the mathematical optimization model as a benchmark for assessing the performance of the heuristic and see how the benefits will deviate, that the algorithm was providing would deviate from the optimal, which is the mathematical optimization model once again. Then we developed a mathematical optimization model for location, but this one was based on spherical distances. All previous model and heuristic were based on real distances, asymmetrical distances. The assumptions of the model and algorithm is we have two supplier nodes, A and B. We have clients demanding products, specifically 2 products from each node, 1 product per each. Then vehicle departs from depot A, goes to depot B, partly loaded, and then goes to depot B, and then goes to market. Vehicle, after routing, returns to depot B. I won't go into details in the questions, but basically we set up this as a minimization problem. We're minimizing distances, and we have constraints for vehicles departing the specific node, returning. Each client needs to be visited, and evidently all market demand should be met. The algorithm mimics what the model does. It takes into distances as input, demands, and evidently capacity, and it starts building routes by calculating cumulative distances and cumulative demands. Basically, it starts evaluating each of the customers or client points and either accepting it as part of the route or discarding it for next route or discarding it for any other route. The location model is based on the harvesting formula. Again, that's why it was a spherical distance that we consider for this model. And basically the aim is to build a matrix of distances between a potential location for the facility and all client nodes. And the model aims to reduce or minimize the overall summation of all distances of that matrix. After assessing several areas, we selected Houston as it's not the case. The criteria was basically the complexity, the clustering of the clients, and Houston presented adequate commodities. In this case, we selected wood and metal. You can see the two real location warehouses and depot for those industries, for those companies highlighted in the red circle in the image that you have in front of you. And then all client nodes are indicated by the blue icons. In terms of design of experiment, if the larger comparison that we did is comparing evidently the optimization model against the algorithm, and within, for instance, in the optimization model, we compare original depot location against the optimized depot location. Within the original depot location, we compare the single demand scenario. Basically, it's demand exclusively for metal, demand exclusively for wood, how the routing would behave for that demand against the cargo consolidated demand. And then we compare results with the optimized depot location. We did that for 3 random samples of 20 clients. Basically, the universe was 58 clients. We randomly selected 20 clients 3 times, meaning 3 random samples. And then that's what we used for these comparisons that I just described. That's the same for algorithm and for larger scenarios. Basically, we compare only original depot locations again optimized location for the cargo consolidation scenario. We use the same 20 client random samples that we did for the optimization model. Results, and this is just for illustration. You can see here the routing for wood and routing for metal, considering a vehicle capacity of 18 tons with a maximum range, what we call autonomy, of 400 kilometers. And then you can see the cargo consolidated routing in the third box, in the third graph. The depot is highlighted by the blue circle. Results. You can see the random samples 1, 2, and 3. All of them, the cargo consolidation model provides advantages against the single model demand, meaning routing specifically for one industry and then for the other. And on average, the 3 samples provided roughly a 47% improvement in distance and a 28% improvement in number of trucks or trips. That translated in 470 roughly kilometers less of distance, and then roughly a 1 trip per truck less for the 20 clients. The algorithm, and on the other hand, also provided significant benefits. However, these benefits were less than the optimization model. In this case, the improvement in terms of distance was roughly 29%, which translated in 300 kilometers, and then in 0.7 number of trucks or trips. This table shows the comparison between the model and algorithm. You can see that, well, what it can be as deviation from optimality, even though the algorithm both deliver benefits, relevant and significant benefits against the single demand scenarios. The algorithm deviated from optimality roughly at 33%, basically, in terms of distance, and a 16.6% in terms of number of trucks or trips. For the location optimization, as I mentioned, the aim was to reduce the overall distance among all matrices for the potential new location of the facility, warehouse, or depot. You can see the original depots highlighted in red, in the red circle, and then the new suggested optimized location for the new depot or warehouse highlighted by the green circle. Considering this new location, we ran everything again, and then you can see the comparison of single demand, cargo consolidation for the model, and cargo consolidation for the algorithm. All of them provided improvements, even though they are not like large improvements. They do improve in terms of distance for the 3 scenarios. So the bottom line is that the model provided higher benefits than the algorithm. However, the algorithm only provided 40,233 vehicle miles of reduction against the single demand scenario. And we just have to keep in mind that these benefits stem from only 20 clients for a single case in Houston and only for 2 commodities, wood and metal. That's all I got. I thank you for your attention.
Great. Thank you so much for, I'm going to take control back, for all the great information. Oh, is there more slides? Looks like there's a few more slides, a couple more slides.
Yes. Yeah, sorry. Oh no, I click in the next slide and they didn't show. Sorry about that. So in terms of contribution, we provided a methodology for data fusion and analytics. I mean, again, we had to resource to public available data, which I believe is a contribution by itself. Just identifying those data sets in order to that contain private sector information but publicly available is something, and that they are useful for this type of analysis is something of a novelty, actually, because it is very hard to find this type of data sets for like data for like a type of private sector analysis. Another contribution is what the surveys and interviews provided in terms of insights and the status of cargo consolidation practices in the private sector mainly, but also on how the public sector deems this type of practices and strategies. Also, we developed optimization methodology for cargo consolidation. As you saw, the 2 models and algorithm, and which is also part of the 4 contribution that we think is significant. This algorithm is practical, fairly simple, and it can be applied to different and larger type of scenarios. And we actually provided an additional step in the methodology by developing the model that for the depot location optimization. I believe there is one more slide that thank you. In terms of future research, we think that including cargo sequence would benefit greatly the algorithm performance and also the model. And identifying specific routes that serve particular commodity markets would be also of benefit for decision making at the public sector level. And also, if we factor in road capacities and actual transit on the routing, that would make the model and the algorithm even more accurate in terms of distance reduction and hence congestion reduction. That's basically what we see in the future for next steps.
Okay, great. There's your contact information on the slide. So we did have a number of questions that were submitted during the registration process. So I did want to take a few moments to kind of go through those questions. Sachkin, this first question is for you. It says, did you utilize separate surveys for public and private sectors? And what was the main reason? If you did, what was the main reason for this approach?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, and thank you for asking that question to whoever submitted that. We use both a public and private sector survey. They are 2 separate surveys, and the initial reason is the public survey is looking from an administrator's point of view, a policy planning and an implementation possibly of how do they incentivize cargo consolidation possibly, and how do they look at the implementation of cargo consolidation. From a private sector perspective, what we were trying to get out of the private sector survey was why are they utilizing, or if they are utilizing, and if they are not utilizing, why are they not utilizing cargo consolidation? Because at the end of the day, it's the private sector who is going to really implement cargo consolidation in their daily operations. And we were trying to, of course, through our study, trying to see what really drives that thought process and decision making, and hopefully make them more incentivized, because all of the great savings that Dr. Montreal just shared with us through the study can only be realized if the private sector actually utilizes cargo consolidation. So those were the 2 main reasons that we split our survey into a public sector and a private sector.
Okay, and this question is for Dr. Montreal. What's the main contribution novelty of this work?
So besides the contributions that we mentioned before in terms of models, tools, and all that, and the data sets that we found and were able to handle and condition to this type of analysis, I think one of the main contributions would be that typically this type of analysis in terms of cargo consolidation, routing, location, facility location, and all that is being performed from the private sector perspective. However, our work does that, but from the public sector perspective, basically aiming at congestion. And that is something that I believe is novel in the sense that it's a new perspective. Even though it's mainly private sector operations, it does provide the public sector insights and tools to incorporate that into the planning and decision-making process that they have for urban settings.
Great. This second question is also for you. It says, how can results be translated to environmental metrics? Environmental metrics.
Oh, that's actually a very good question. We probably should have included that in our future research, because I mean, once you have this type of congestion metrics in terms, I mean, we at the end we got results in terms of vehicle miles, which is like a universal unit that is easily translated into other type of metrics, environmentally included. So using that type of units, results in those units, we can easily translate that environmentally type of, of units or metrics.
Great. And Sechkin, this question comes in for you. It says, what was the main findings of the interview interviews held as part of the study regarding optimization models and their importance in freight shipments?
So the interviews were crucial, really, to reach out and to fully understand how the private sector is doing what it's doing as far as cargo consolidation is concerned. And one of the major reasons and one of the major findings that we found, or the reasons behind it, is all of the optimization tools that the private sector actually is using. So the optimization tools are looking for cost savings for the company and also emission savings and all that, as Dr. Monserrel just mentioned. So the output of some of that is, instead of just doing an LTL kind of a service, trying to consolidate that cargo with possibly some other partners and ship it all as one for a full truck load. And that way, the company can actually observe not only cost savings, but it can also observe environmental carbon footprint savings as well. So that's a fantastic question. So thank you for asking that.
You're welcome. And this question is back in for Mario. It says, what's the main challenge for implementing cargo consolidation?
Well, for companies, and I believe this is a very interesting finding from the surveys and interviews that Dr. Oswald presented, is actually finding the right partner. I mean, there are many. I mean, private sector environment is very competitive, and there are many industries that are very hard in terms of competition, and hence there is like certain aversity to share information. And when you are doing that, it's very important to find the right partner in order to start thinking about implementing this type of a strategy, because you will need to share information, and evidently you are sharing costs and some other things that are very sensitive to companies.
Okay, and great. One more final question for you. It says, can and how economic costs and or savings be estimated from congestion reductions stemmed from this work?
That's a great question too. I believe the answer lies in the same unit that we mentioned for the environmental question as well. So having this metric of vehicle kilometers or vehicle miles is again very handy or the first step to start assessing for economic impacts. So this is like the main metric with flexibility to use for different purposes, environmental or economic assessment types.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Monserrel and Dr. Oskol, for the great information and for completing the study. I have brought up the session evaluation for today's presentation. You can either, if you're watching this live, you can click on the link or scan the QR code with your cell phone to open up SurveyMonkey to complete the evaluation. That feedback's very important, not only to our presenters, but also to the NYSER webcast series. So on behalf of the National Institute for Congestion Reduction, please stay connected to the NYSER website for all of our upcoming webinars. So again, thank you so much and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thank
you.